So I literally just finished watching the director's cut of Dr. Sleep. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I love Stephen King. This shirt was a little redundant. The Shining was actually one of the first Stephen King books I ever read. I was a teenager in high school when I read it, and I thought it was amazing. So I immediately went out and watched the Stanley Kubrick version that is the horror classic of The Shining, and was very disappointed. I did not like it at all because there was just so many differences between the book and the movie. I didn't know what I was expecting. Now, of course, looking back on the Stanley Kubrick version, I can see there's a lot of merit to that film. It really is good if you can just kind of forget everything that was in the book and treat it as its own individual entity. It's a very good movie. So when I found out that Stephen King wrote a sequel to The Shining, I was immediately intrigued. I didn't even know that Dr. Sleep was a sequel to The Shining until I started seeing the trailers for the film. And I was like, okay, I need to read this. So I did. And it was awesome. It's probably one of Stephen King's best books, in my opinion, which made me a little wary of the film because this film is not a sequel to the book The Shining. It is a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. But I am very happy to announce this is probably the director's cut specifically I'm talking about now. And I have not seen the theatrical cut yet. But this is probably one of, if not the most faithful adaptations of a Stephen King book that has ever been put to film. And that makes sense because it is brought to us by Mike Flanagan, the same guy who directed Gerald's Game. Again, a very faithful adaptation. This film follows Danny Torrance as an adult man who is dealing with his own versions of his own father's demons, I guess you could say. He has become a raging alcoholic, even probably worse than his father ever was, and is just running from his past, running from the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel that keep following him wherever he goes. Finally lands in a small town in New Hampshire and just begins to live out his life there. He gets sober, and through his community there just finds a place to be happy. Meanwhile, in a city that's a little ways away from where he's living is this little girl named Abra. And Abra is a shiner, just like him. And she is a strong enough shiner to the point where she can leave little notes for him on the wall. They're kind of like psychic pen pals. And it's awesome. But just like Danny is not the only shiner, she's not the only shiner either. There are some very nasty people in this world. They call themselves the True Knot. And they are pure evil. They feed on shiners to keep themselves young. They're kind of like vampires. The main villain in this film is a woman named Rose the Hat. And in this film, Rose the Hat is played by Rebecca Ferguson. And she does a fantastic job. Danny Torrance is played by Ewan McGregor, who does a fantastic job. Really, pretty much everyone in this film just does a great job. Dr. Sleep is amazing to me as it is a sequel that makes me love the original more. Like I said, I did not like the original Shining when I first saw it. I thought it was really bad. I thought it was really dumb. I didn't like it. Now again, looking back on it later, there's some beautiful filmmaking going on there. I can give it that. And there are some throwbacks to The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's Shining, in Dr. Sleep's director's cut, and in even the original cut, that are just so cool. So much fun to watch. I was so excited that it was making these throwbacks like it was. Really, apart from a very small part in the beginning and then the finale of the film, it is almost a completely faithful adaptation of the book. And that is not an easy thing to do. 9 out of 10 times, the book is better than the movie because it's got more time to flesh everything out. Now, the director's cut of Dr. Sleep is 30 minutes longer than its theatrical cut. So Mike Flanagan added a lot more stuff in here. I could literally talk for hours about how awesome this movie is, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to cut this short and say, if you love Stephen King, if you love The Shining, watch this movie. Specifically, the director's cut. You will not be disappointed. I highly recommend this film. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. I do my best to keep this channel updated regularly, and As long as there are great movies like this to cover, I will do that. And if you enjoy podcasts, I recommend the Cinematic Blindspots podcast. You can find on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, just about anything you listen to podcasts on. But until next time, I will see you guys on my next video.